Hi there, welcome to Sybil. I'm sure you're eager to get started on tracking your time at work, staying on budget, and invoicing your hours as a freelancer or an agency. So let's get right into setting you up. First of all, make sure that you've saved your credentials somewhere safe. I recommend using a password keeper like NordPass or 1Password. Next, once you've logged in, you should make your first workspace. Workspaces are the main areas in Sybil in which you can track time, invoice, and invite your team members to track their time along with you. Once you've created your workspace, you're now able to personalize it with a profile picture like this one. Here, you can also add the minimum work hours per member per day, along with the address and of course the currency in which you would like your workspace to be in. If more than 2 members join your workspace, you're automatically upgraded to the Lite or the Team plan. Now that you have your workspace all set up, it's time to add a client. Select Add Client at the top right and fill out the information like name, address, and country. The internal-external selection allows you to track whether the client you're adding is a client within your company or external of your company. Now, it's time to add projects. You do this by clicking on the client or by navigating to the Projects tab. There, you can add the project quite similarly to how you added a client before. After you're done creating your projects, it's time to add segments. Segments are where you can organize large chunks of work and break them down into smaller tasks. This is called decomposing, dividing large components into smaller, more manageable tasks called deliverables. For each segment, you can add a budget. If that's not something you're too worried about, it's optional to have it. When you activate the comments for time entries, each time entry is required to have a description that could be followed up on later, allowing you to have a clear description of what was done during the hours you worked. Once you have your segments all set up, you can start adding those smaller tasks I mentioned before. Adding a description of these tasks are optional, as well as the budget. Having a budget is helpful, especially when you're working on a budget-sensitive projects. Now, you're good to start tracking time. This is where you can start your active timer. Remember to come back to your timer in case you stop working or take breaks in between. You can add time manually if you worked on a task and chose not to use the active timer. Make sure you add a booking date. This is the date on which you want your timer to be saved. Perhaps you worked on a task yesterday, but only added the time you worked on it today. You can see an overview of the time you've spent on your timesheets page. Now for invoices. You can create a new invoice by navigating to the Projects tab and clicking on New Invoice. You'll be asked to add a series of information necessary to create your invoice, like who the invoice is for, who it's from, what currency you would like the invoice to be in, along with a date range and the percentage of tax. Make sure to tick off the segments you would like to invoice the time for, and once you're ready, go on and select Generate Invoice. You can download your generated invoice here on the right, where you can mark it as paid or detailed. When you mark it as detailed, your invoice will show all the descriptions you or your teammates have written up every time they did a task or segment. Your invoice will look something like this. You can come back here at any time to regenerate or re-download the invoice. If you work in a team, you would want to add roles. Defining a role for your team members allows you to keep things organized, and in case your team members have different hourly rates, you can set them right from the settings page. Navigate to the Team tab to add team members via their emails, and remember to set the specific roles. Now, you're all set to start tracking your time at work, alone, or collaborating with your team members, managing your workload by breaking them down into smaller pieces, and generating beautiful and functional invoices for your clients. We hope that Sybil will serve you well in your professional journey.